Live on 5 News and streaming on 5 Plus, this is a Weather Impact Alert.
All right, good morning, everybody. From 1:45 this morning, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing 60-mile-per-hour straight-line winds right now moving through southern Leflore County, soon moving into Scott County. That's our only severe thunderstorm warning as of this moment. Heads up, folks, in Black Fork, Oliver, Blancett, Waldron, damaging straight-line winds coming up close to Heavener right now. We're talking 60-mile-per-hour winds. No rotation indicated with this. This new severe thunderstorm warning for Leflore County is going to run until 2 o'clock. For portions of Polk, PLLK, as well as Scott County. It's going to be a little bit later beyond that. This storm has been moving somewhat slowly over the last several minutes. You'll notice right there on the leading edge, there's a bit of a bowing feature. And that's where you would expect those damaging straight-line winds coming into the Waldron community over the next 15 to 20 minutes, more than likely. Let's put a track on it. This storm right now is projected to be moving currently at 60 miles per hour. It's actually moving a little quicker than I'd thought. That's unfortunately means the wind potential, and it's going to be a little bit higher there as well. From Heavener, south of Heavener is where this storm is, moving off towards the north and east. We'll pause it right there. That takes it at the Beech Creek National scenic area at 146, Page 146 there as well, Fogle 151, Black Fork 153 there. Coldell 156, Rich Mountain 158, Brawley at 201, Mena around 203 this morning, Waldron right there around 214, Parks at 220. This is a damaging straight line wind potential. There's no rotation with this cell. We're talking just some very breezy winds, probably a little bit of hail mixing in with it as well. So that's going to be a concern for us. That concern is going to extend well into portions of the majority of Scott County. It's a fast-moving thunderstorm, a big surge of wind right here along this bowing segment. That's where the wind is likely rushing out of it in excess of 50, probably closer to 60 mile per hour. It's moving off towards the east-northeast, good chunk of Polk County, as well as southern Leflore, south of Heavener, east of Tallahena, included in this new severe thunderstorm warning. Well, let's do this now that we got that stream fired up. Folks are getting the push alerts, tuning in. We'll do this. We do have our second round of thunderstorms as expected moving into the area. Scattered showers in Adair and Washington County, scattered showers in Sequoia. Hardly any lightning there, so we're not even looking at thunderstorm activity. We do get into Leflore County. There is some lightning and thus there is some thunder. Some of that may be heard in Fort Smith, Crawford, maybe perhaps as far north and east as Crawford County. So none of that severe. If you're hearing those thunderstorms right there, none of that severe, at least as of right now. There is a potential that it could become severe. We've seen the southern flank, obviously, become severe, producing some damaging winds. That's the concern right there. With that said, if you're up late, up early, and you got a little anxiety given everything we kind of went through earlier, right now, just know this, it's going to be south of Heavener, southern Leflore, moving towards Waldron. Mansfield probably also gets in on the action, although Mansfield not currently technically included in any warnings. Mena also next in line for some damaging straight line winds. You start to see a bow segment like that, kind of looks like a bow, right? That is where you would typically see some strong gusty winds surging. Looks like there's a little notch right there on the backside, so you definitely have a pretty consistent textbook example of what is likely to be some damaging winds coming out of that. When we look at the wind velocities there from the Fort Smith radar, what you notice is winds south of Heavener up to 57 or so, 62. They're closing in on the Oklahoma-Arkansas state line. So that damaging wind potential certainly continues. We're looking out of the Fort Smith radar, so we definitely have a pretty good view of what's happening in this cell. Right now, I wouldn't suspect those winds to necessarily die down moving into Scott County. That's what's happening right now as we speak. I'm going to get some more information for us over here. It's going to be a flood advisory. We'll work on that later. Let's see. So the warning for Scott County specifically runs until 2:15. So we have About 25 more minutes to go with regards to that one. Good news is there's not been a lot of large hail, so we're actually below that severe weather threshold. If this was 1 inch or greater, that would be a different story. 60-mile-per-hour winds is actually what prompted this new additional severe thunderstorm warning. It's moving out of Lafleur County. I know things are somewhat intense for you right now in Lafleur County, especially south of Heebner. A decent amount of lightning, so you're hearing a lot of rumbles of thunder. And given what happened earlier today, you probably got some anxiety out there, kind of wondering what's going on. I've been looking at rotation off air here. Haven't seen anything. I'll show you kind of what we're seeing out there when we look at the rotation tracker. All we see is straight line winds right there. I hope that's some comfort to you. Straight line winds, though, can do some damage, and so we can't necessarily just pretend that that's not the case. As much as I wish we could, those winds right now closing in into the Mena area, Rich Mountain Community College, Queen Wilhelmina State Park. That's where those winds are probably getting high right now. Also seeing some high winds west of Scott County. Those are going to be around 60 mile per hour, closing in on the Waldron community in the next 15 to 20 minutes. Let's do this. Let's put a track from those high winds. I'm going to do it from the leading edge of the rain. That's moving at 60 miles per hour. That's the storm motion. That's also the potential straight line wind maximum that we could be seeing out there. When you kind of take that in, these are some new estimated times of arrival for you. Fogle now, Eagleton 1:59, Brawley at 2:06, Blance at 2:07, Winfield at 2:13, downtown Waldron at 2:18. I would expect this into the Parks community not far after that, right around 2:20, Lone Elm School at 2:23. This warning has since been updated. Let's see what that is. That was an update out of the Tulsa Weather Service office. It appears that they are simply trimming the backside of that warning, and that's the reason it's flashing up a little bit right there, trimming some folks back towards Talihina out of it. Warning continues. This is a severe thunderstorm warning. No radar indicated rotation, no concerns for any imminent tornado potential as of right now. This is a base severe thunderstorm warning simply issued for the potential of some very damaging winds. 60 mile per hour straight line winds likely coming out of this, moving into Black Fork right now. Blancett soon. Waldron would inevitably be included. Tate is probably also included in this warning, and I would extend that over into the Parks community there in southern Scott County as well. That warning is flashing. That means the Weather Service has updated it. The update for us looks like we are editing. I'm not sure what the update is there. It looks the same to me. .151, a severe thunderstorm was located along a line extending 9 miles southeast of Heebner to Mountain Fork to 6 miles southwest of Queen Wilhelmina State Park. The concern is not hail, it's 60 mile per hour straight line winds. This remains radar indicated. Could be some small penny-sized hail at most with this cell. To me, though, the wind potential maximum right now, southern Scott, northern Polk County, right there on that county line. Warning does extend far north into Waldron, though. I do think we're going to see winds, high winds in Waldron. The question is, are they actually going to meet that 60 mile per hour threshold? It looks like they could be, based off kind of those blues right there showing up along the county line. There's 55, there's 41. So we are getting some decent samples there of some high winds that are close to that severe weather threshold. I think that is a real concern, a real likelihood for us going into the next 15 to 20 minutes. This warning for Scott County set to expire at 2:15. It's possible that it has to be extended or a new one may be issued. While the storm is moving somewhat fast, I don't know if it's going to be fast enough to get out of here by 2:15. This warning is for almost the entire county of Scott. It is right now moving east at 60 miles per hour. This storm is. That's pretty fast, especially compared to some of the cells we saw earlier today. At 60 miles per hour, it does put it into the Waldron, eventually over into Tate there as well. Mansfield, a little bit close for comfort. We'll have to see if this thing continues more easterly or more northeasterly. I'm going to loop this over just the last hour to get an idea. And that, to me, there's a couple of things that actually come to mind. When I look at that potential track there. It is more east-northeast, but I'm also seeing a lot less in the way of those reds, all the way up from Fort Smith down into this cell, even extending beyond Leflore County. Not finding as many of those reds there would indicate to me perhaps it is starting to weaken a little bit, which would be some really good news for us. Weakening as it may be, it is still producing some straight line winds though. So while it may be on a weakening trend, it's not entirely done just yet. Right now, the current time is 1:55. We have one severe thunderstorm moving through the Channel 5 viewing area. We do have showers and other thunderstorms that have grown in coverage, especially over the last 5 to 10 minutes. You're seeing a notable uptick in this activity extending now into Benton County. This trend is likely to continue. These could grow into severe thunderstorms. Right now, they are far below severe weather limits. The odds of severe weather are going to continue until about 5 o'clock this morning. This second round has really slowed down. I know I told you 2 a.m., but this one really is kind of slowed down and unfortunately still causing us some issues out there. We do have an additional watch through 5 a.m. That doesn't mean everybody's going to see bad weather until 5 a.m. That just means we'll have to be on guard unless that watch gets canceled early. There is an additional new severe thunderstorm watch that was issued for Sequoia, Leflore, and Sebastian counties just for this batch of storms. Not expecting anything else to develop on the backside out there. These showers growing upscale into Washington and Benton County. We'll need to watch to see if those don't develop into some thunderstorms, not only in northwest Arkansas, but eastern portions of the River Valley there as well. Focus right now remains into Scott County. That cell is slowly showing some signs of weakening, but even though it's a little bit less intense, it does still have some damaging straight line wind potential with it. Getting closer and closer to the Waldron community. We'll take another look at some of these winds. I'm just going to pick a few. So it's 44, 50, 41, 49. So we're getting in there. We're probably falling close to below the severe weather threshold. Let's see what the Weather Service decides to do. It's possible that they may end up allowing that warning to be canceled. I want to do this. I'm noticing quite a bit of lightning out there, so I'm pulling up one of our camera grids. This is going to be, let's see here, I'm not going to be able to see really a lot of lightning from northwest Arkansas. I can see a lot from the Ozark and the Poto camera. Of course, the Poto camera is going to be in the thick of that thunderstorm moving through Leflore County right now. Looks like the rain's getting closer and closer there. Ozark camera looking off towards the southeast, so that's going to be looking, maybe at some of that activity. It's actually a little bit further off towards the southeast, maybe not what we're looking at here in Scott County. I do think I've got a couple of Fort Smith cameras that I can quickly pull up for us. Those were also showing a decent amount of lightning. This one's going to be our Mercy Hospital camera looking off towards the southeast from Fort Smith, looking down into that general direction. This is the thunderstorm that we're seeing off in the distance. Boy, this camera was useful earlier this evening, wasn't it? Caught that likely brief tornado touchdown right there near the Doppler radar site. A remarkable image. Thankfully, we're not seeing that out there right now. In fact, there's no rotation at all anywhere. I'm going to say that as much as I can just to give you a little bit of reassurance. We are looking off towards the southeast from Mercy Hospital there on the east side of town. That's been seeing a little bit of lightning over the last couple of seconds. Haven't seen a whole lot out there. Okay, now it's starting to tick back up just a little bit. We'll go back to live radar. Let's see, this new, not going to be for any of ours. It's good news. Let's see some central Arkansas stuff. Well, I mean, you almost see over the last hour, this line segment was really organized, more of those reds, very clearly defined leading edge, likely a good surge of wind. But I'll tell you, to me, this is really weakening. This is weakening a whole lot as it moves closer to Waldron, which is some good news. Those winds that we just looked at, not as intense as they were when we first fired up this live stream. Currently, we are coming up on the 2 o'clock hour. This will have one warning will fall off here in a matter of seconds at 2 o'clock on the dot for eastern Leflore. The warning for Scott County set to expire at 2:15. And folks, in Scott County right now, while the severe weather threat obviously is still there, I do think if not by 2:15, maybe even a little bit earlier, we will very well see this severe thunderstorm warning also fall off the map. So LaFleur County no longer under a warning. Scott County and Polk County remain under this severe thunderstorm warning for about 15 more minutes. 60-mile-per-hour straight line winds are going to be possible. That's, though, I would tell you, I think it's weakening. I don't think we're actually meeting that threshold right now. I think we're actually falling below that 60-mile potential. Weather Service is updating their warning right there. They're continuing it for the next 15 minutes. They seem to believe there's at least reason enough. I trust them. They're good folks. But I'll tell you, this is kind of losing a lot of its organization. This is losing a lot of its steam. We'll go back into some of those wind velocities there and get an idea of what the latest scans are showing us. I definitely think there's some breezy conditions, gusty, and maybe even enough to topple over some small trees, just given the fact that we've seen such high amounts of rain, ground being saturated. Things of that nature very well could be happening, but when it comes to actual severe winds, I think as we're going to see as we sample some of these, in fact, we're even a little bit lower than we were earlier. Get a little bit higher, closer into Polk County. You get a little bit higher near Rich Mountain. Some of those winds still getting closer to that 40, 45 mile per hour threshold. But that's the only thing I'm really seeing out there right now with regards to that. Specifically, I do think we're probably going to see a lot of rain and maybe even some very small hail that would be smaller than what you would need to actually do damage moving into the Waldron community. That's the current status as the way I see them right now. I think we've got a pretty good view into this storm from the Fort Smith radar, so I'm not too concerned that the data is bad. I just think it's weakening on approach. This atmosphere is relatively worked over. There is obviously still some elevated instability. Storm fuel, instability is the technical term. Storm fuel is my hillbilly way of saying it. Elevated instability, so hail and wind would be the primary concern. Certainly no rotation in this at all. We've been looking into that for quite some time. There is no rotation to be concerned with. It is just but simply a damaging wind threat for those of us in Scott County right now. I want to zoom back out just a little bit, see what else is beginning to grow upscale. A lot of showers. Looks like these storms are intensifying in southeast Oklahoma. These are not going to be a concern for us, but there is an observed tornado on the ground moving, looks like near Idabel, Oklahoma, southeast Oklahoma. This is way far out of our viewing area. Those are not going to track our direction. They very well could move into southwestern Arkansas later this morning, but at least for us right now, some rain continues to develop. Those are showers right now are growing upscale. As we can see, this disturbance moving through the upper levels of the atmosphere, sparking those showers right now along the Arkansas-Oklahoma state line. The southern fringe of this line is what's gusting out in western Scott County right now. That's the only warning we've got. That's going to run for about 13 more minutes. It's going to expire at 2:15 unless they have to issue a new one. I'm just not sure they're going to have to. Some of these other showers up into the river valley, those have grown from low reflectivity, like greens, right, indicating some light rain, to some oranges and some reds. And so I do think there's some organization happening here. The question is, can it actually reach that severe weather threshold before it exits off towards the east? I'm not confident that it can, although I wouldn't rule it out, simply given that it is the middle part of May and you just never trust a storm in May. I have trust issues when it comes to those things right there. Let's see here. Let's do this. Go back in. I think this thing's just falling apart. I just don't know if there's anything really at all. I mean, I'm not even sure we're going to get heavy rain in Waldron at this rate, of which it's just really falling apart as it's crossing out of LaFleur County. Certainly far southwestern Scott County, you've still got a little bit of moderate to heavy rain. That's going to be closer over the county line into the Rich Mountain community there in Polk County. But this is seemingly really weakening on approach. Moderate to heavy rain, probably some 40 to 50 mile per hour winds, but the severe weather threshold is actually 60, and I don't know if we're actually getting there right now. That picture there does have a little bit better of a very small, brief window of maybe some 48 to 50 mile per hour winds south of Waldron. Those would be moving off east-northeast, so yeah, maybe we can get some damaging winds there in Waldron if this is meeting its fullest potential. It has been weakening with time, not seeing any rotation in this area. That continues to be the good news for us. We'll take a look into our hell tracker, but I do not expect to see really anything at all. No, there is no hell coming in out of that. You look at the hell track over the last hour and not really seen anything at all. Maybe some spotty returns back near Talahina, but that could just be a pea size at best. None coming in with that. Right now, it's primarily going to be into some damaging winds there in Scott County. One thing to pass along to you, Weather Service is indicating they're issuing what's called a special weather statement. It sounds a lot better and interesting than it actually is. Basically, they're saying in southern Sebastian and now extending over into Franklin County, that is a strong thunderstorm, but it is below severe limits. Right now, it's believed that it could have wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour coming out of Sebastian County. That will be moving over into southern Franklin County. That special weather statement is just one of those ways that the Weather Service can tell us you've got a strong storm, not meeting that severe weather threshold right now, but it could. And given the fact that, well, I'll just loop this and I'll just show you, you can kind of see that pretty quick upscale growth. That's a 3-hour loop. Let me back this up to just a 1 hour so we can work with just the last 60 minutes. You can see a lot of this grows from really not a lot at all to it's continuing to build up towards the north back into northwest Arkansas. Severe warning continues for Scott in Sebastian County. You have the potential of up to 50-mile-per-hour straight line winds. Those will be moving south of I-40 into Franklin County, eventually over into Logan and perhaps Johnson on this current trend. So this organization, while it is weakening overall, it's not entirely giving up. I think that's the key takeaway for us this morning, that potential for some severe storms likely going to continue over the next probably couple of hours, unfortunately for a lot of us. We'll take a look into some of our cameras out here. Let's get an idea of what's going on. Radar's not detecting a whole lot of lightning, but I can certainly see a decent amount from the Ozark camera. I can't tell. I think that's pointed off towards okay, so this is going to be the Lock and Dam, those lights right there. So this is pointed towards the southeast, so that's going to be looking some of those other thunderstorms way off in the distance, more than likely. That's probably not going to be our severe thunderstorm. In fact, if I were to spin that back around towards the southwest, and I may do that here in a minute, that would be what would be showing up in the Fort Smith area. Right now, here's a live look from Mercy Hospital along Rogers Avenue. Looks like some rain's continuing here. Didn't have that rain earlier, but it's built in and now continues to fall out there. Unfortunately, we had a lot of flooding issues earlier this evening in Fort Smith. Those flooding issues included the need for water rescues. We have flooding issues in Fort Smith a lot. Very, very flood prone there. Unfortunately, adding a little bit of rain, while it may not be a whole lot, just given what we're seeing right now, the fact is the soil really can't support any more water at all. So we'll need to watch for that in the next couple of minutes. Back edge of that system is just off towards the west. In fact, we've already cleared Vian and Gore and Weber's Falls. Right now, back edge of that rain coming up in the Salisaw community. So we're not going to get a whole lot more rain out of this, unfortunately, just more than we really need. Let's do this. It's been a second since we've gone into Scott County, and so let's do that. Let's go ahead and go back into Scott County. Stephen, are you online over there? Not yet. Whenever you get ready, I'm going to let you drive for me, but you just take your time. We're in no rush. Meteorologist Stephen Elmore in the building. He and I are crossing like ships in the night, it feels like these days. And he is back after a couple of hours of sleep, and looks like he's going to have himself some severe weather to be able to track. Of course, we appreciate him for doing that. Looking into the velocities there, a little bit of a wind signature right here south of Waldron. Let's go in a little bit closer. Let's go in a little bit tighter. Perfect. You got there 44 miles per hour, 45. Let's zoom in south of Waldron there and see if we can't get a couple more communities and maybe even a couple of highways to pop up as to where that wind signature actually is right now. So it's going to be between Blancett and Parks. I'm just really not seeing actual severe winds out of this. The warning at this point probably going to end up being allowed to expire. I say that. Weather Service, if you'll bump over to Little Rock Chat, it looks like they just bumped that a bit. Okay, maybe they're just actually just trimming it maybe off the backside. I think that's what happened. I think they're just trimming it. Okay, that's what happened. Right now, current time is coming up on 2:10, a few seconds away from 2:10, so this morning got about 5 more minutes to go. If you would, Stephen, let's go into Sebastian County. Let's take a look at those winds as well. Maybe sample between Mansfield and Greenwood. 20. I mean, yeah, we're far below severe thresholds. Way far below those thresholds. What does Tulsa have to say over there? Nothing. Just canceling some flood advisories. Okay, excellent. Let's see what this looks like on rain mode. I did see some of those reflectivities coming up, seeing some more oranges and reds as opposed to what we were seeing. So we got a good shower, good soaking shower right now between Greenwood and Mansfield. That's going to be tracking closer through the Charleston community, southern Franklin County. Winds potentially up to 50 miles per hour out of this. I'm not sure we're actually meeting that right now, but that's the potential if this storm is to continue to grow and meet its fullest potential under the current environment. That's probably the ceiling in which we would be looking at least as of right now. Could it continue to increase and inevitably become severe off towards the east? It's a possibility for us. Boonville should be mindful of that as well. Boonville, Paris, also next in line. Here's Charleston right here. Not seeing anything of concern when it comes to rotation. I know a lot of folks are a little bit on edge, understandably so. I get it. I probably consider myself one of those. But we're really not seeing much. That's a good idea, Stephen, going into the River Valley there. Rain continuing up through Mountainburg, Alma, Uniontown, Natural Dam, Lee Creek. We got some rain here in Arcoma. We've got some rain in Brent, and Brushy's also seeing a little bit of light rain. That's all that is. A little bit of lightning occasionally in the River Valley, not as much as we have seen earlier in the day. In fact, you got to look really closely near Greenwood and Fort Smith to see some of those lightning strikes, just not as much, which is a good sign. That tells us this thing isn't necessarily too healthy. That's what we hope to see. We hope to see this thing stay below severe thresholds. Right now, that cell in Sebastian County is. Let's go ahead and take another look back into Scott County, if you will. We'll go back into that cell. It's getting a little bit closer to Waldron. Blancett, this is a little bit more defined, so maybe that rain's starting to come up a little bit. It's a little bit more broken than it was. It's not that entire linear structure that it once was. Winds are probably closing in on State Highway 71 right here coming into Waldron. Right there between Blancett and Waldron is where those winds would be. Radar indicates they're still relatively low, I would say. Relative is the key operative word, but you know, we'll see if it doesn't try to pulse back up. This warning set to expire in about 3 minutes, unless it is going to be extended. And right now, I'm just not sure that it's going to. Stephen, if you would, well, I thought I may have access to it. I'm going to do some. Let me take the mouse for you real quick, if you don't mind. I want to see that Fayetteville Chamber of Commerce camera. I just saw a ton of lightning off of that. So this one is going to be the Fayetteville Chamber of Commerce. Typically this shows us what's happening downtown, but it's still pointed off towards the southwest from earlier this afternoon into this evening. So you're kind of looking back over towards, let's say, Farmington, Pea Ridge, off towards that general vicinity, away from downtown Fayetteville. I saw a ton of lightning out there a second ago. That's the reason I thought to pull it up. Now I'm not seeing any at all. Of course, it's like it's gotten camera shy on us. So, okay, no worries. We can go back to live radar. 61 degrees in Fayetteville. It's cool. It's good. It's good news that it's cool. I would welcome your thoughts, Stephen, as you see that.
Well, considering that we have, oh, there you go.
They did issue a new one. Yeah. Goodness gracious!
I was just about to say, considering it ends in 1 minute, maybe they let this go, but they decided to go ahead and let that continue that. Let's get that new information. This is going to be for the rest of Scott County before that pushes outside of our viewing area, but that's going to go out until 3 a.m. this morning still, just for the 60-mile-an-hour winds, up to quarter-size hail possible. We can take a look at those hailstones here to see if we see anything on our end, but so far it's just been for the wind, and you know, when they issue these warnings, those are kind of the baselines that we look for: winds up to 60 mile an hour and potentially some hail when they issue these new warnings. As of right now, at least we're not seeing any hail on our end outside of anything too noticeable. So really, it's just those winds that we were sampling just south of Waldron that are prompting an additional warning that goes out for an additional 45 minutes. We'll stay with you until that warning is set to expire. If they expire that, cancel that early, or it expires at 3 a.m. Either way, we'll be here. I think we are going to do a change, though, 2 a.m. shift change for us. So I'll go ahead and take things over here for Scott.
I'll drive for you a little bit over here.
Okay, he's had a long day today. Heard him say several times, though, we get through it all the time, though, and even though we had multiple tornado warnings, multiple more than likely confirmed tornadoes, but at the end of the day, still got a few of these cells trying to produce some severe weather. Good news is, if you're waking up this morning in Scott County, no signs of rotation for us as of right now. We're taking a look at this hail tracker here, no signs of any large concerning hail for us. Really, the reason why they're going ahead and extending that warning out for the rest of the county is just because of those winds, but you're also going to get some of that heavy rainfall as well. But let's go ahead and sample those winds once again, see where those strongest winds are coming in at. So it's going to be.
I'm looking at some other off-air products, and I would say Y City and Bowles right now would probably be the areas in which I would see the highest potential of some wind right there. But even then, we're probably just right around 50 or so miles per hour.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and go out where that. Just south of Parks at 31 miles per hour. Let's get near 71. Also at 31 miles per hour, right near the marker there at 29 miles per hour. So more than likely right on that leading edge of where those strongest winds are being produced. You could find 30 up to 40 mile per hour wind gusts every once in a while. More than likely, I think we, at this point, just based on the storm structure that we have right now, of this one line that's producing some of these stronger winds, I think more than likely we avoid reaching up towards that 60 or plus mile per hour wind gusts. These are still some strong winds out there, obviously enough to continue our severe thunderstorm warning going out until 3 a.m. now. But I think generally our range is going to be right around 30, let's say up to 45 at most when it comes to those winds. That's still going to have the potential of knocking some of those branches off your trees, definitely some leaves out in the front yard to move around some of those lawn chairs that you got outside as well. So some strong winds from stretching from Waldron to Parks down to the county line there with Polk County as well. So outside of that, you turn it over to rain mode. You can see that it's a healthy thunderstorm out there right now. Definitely from Waldron south to Mena, there you can see a little bit of that bowing where those strongest winds are. And again, out ahead of that line of thunderstorms is where you would find anywhere between 30 up to 45 miles per hour. You're joining us elsewhere across the river valley this morning. Nothing else severe, but like Scott mentioned earlier, we do have what's called a special weather statement that's stretching out of Sebastian County into parts of Franklin County as well. What that means is that it's a good, healthy thunderstorm. If you're waking up this morning to some lightning outside or maybe a rumble of thunder, yes, we are dealing with just the last few thunderstorms trying to squeeze some of that energy out, but it's not crossing over the severe limits yet. We'll keep an eye on it. It's definitely producing some heavy rain, some lightning strikes there in Sebastian County, crossing over between the messy county lines between Sebastian, Franklin, and Logan counties is where you would find that heaviest rainfall. Good healthy thunderstorm right there, but not crossing over the severe limits as of right now. So far, you take a look across our viewing area, we just have the one severe thunderstorm warning, but over the past hour or so, at least since I arrived here to relieve Scott, what we've seen is definitely the rain increase across the area. We started off with just a few of these thunderstorms stretching into parts of southeastern Oklahoma, into LaFleur, into Sequoia County, and now we're starting to see those scattered showers increase across parts of Washington County, parts of Benton County, definitely all of Crawford County as of right now. So more than likely throughout our morning hours, if you're one of those early morning commuters, you could run into still some wet roads out there. If you're leaving anytime soon, hopefully you're not. Hopefully you're in bed, just riding out this one thunderstorm that we have out there right now. More than likely, by the time we get well past sunrise, we'll be done with the rain chances, and then we've got some nice days ahead of us where it's going to be a little bit cooler, a little bit more dry as well. But right now, it's that one last thunderstorm for us for this, what's been hectic past 24 hours with, this is by far not our first warning that we've dealt with over the past 24 hours. So hopefully this will be our last one, and then we can wrap things up here. And of course, we'll give you that latest forecast at 5 News this morning coming up in just a few hours. Let's take a look at those winds once again. See where they're strongest at. Here's some of those winds outside our station as well. Of course, those aren't severe, but usually this, we hear them first out here if we start to see one of those thunderstorms outside. I want to go ahead and sample near Parks. That's some bad reading there. Let's see here. Well, let's see here. Let's change it over to give us a better image. All right, let's change it back over to rain mode, and let's go ahead and loop this over the past 15 minutes or so. Get a wider image here, kind of showing the whole county. So you live Heavener, parts of LaFleur County, dealing with a few more of those scattered showers here and there, but for the most part, we're wrapping things up here. And outside of those scattered showers that you have right now, obviously not over the severe limits, but once we're done with that, then you should be good for the morning. You work into Scott County, where we just had that warning a few minutes ago. Obviously, that's been set to expire, and they extended that warning out for the rest of the county. This is where you find that little bow shape, where out ahead of the leading edge of this, you could find those wind gusts. You can start to see them gusting out just a bit, maybe anywhere between 30 up to 45 miles per hour, sure. But that's definitely why we're getting that shape there. And then you get the heavy rainfall and those frequent lightning strikes as well. You can see those lightning strikes at least stretching up all the way up into parts of Sebastian and to Logan and Franklin County as well. Of course, that's where our thunderstorm drops below the severe limit. So really just that severe thunderstorm going across portions of southern Scott County, south of Waldron right now. If anything, those winds more than likely greatest at Waldron right now, I think, over the next 15 minutes or so. If anything, this thunderstorm for folks there in Waldron waking up this morning becomes less of a headache for you. If anything, the rainfall rate's just going to become less and less. You've got these green shadings out further out towards the west here, where once you get done with the heavy rainfall, the loud thunderstorms that we got out there right now, then that rainfall becomes much less, and those winds start to die down, and then we should be good throughout the rest of this morning. But this warning is going to go ahead and continue out until 3 a.m. That's at least when it's set to expire. As for how long they'll actually keep a hold of it, we'll go ahead and just stay with it until we see otherwise. Pulling some of those readings there, there's definitely better readings than what we sampled first. I'm still seeing signs, like Scott was saying as well, of at least these winds trying to die out just a bit. We were close to that when we were at 214. We were close to that warning just being let to expire, and then they extended this warning. So we were close to dropping below that threshold in the first place. I still think we're close to that threshold, if not well below it right now for when it comes to a severe thunderstorm warning. I still think some very strong winds out there, but as for severe 60, 70 mile an hour wind gusts for those who are waking up with us there in Parks, those who are waking up there in Waldron, Blancett as well, I don't think that's the case here. I think we're right on the fringe for when it comes to what those severe winds are going to be. More than likely, right around that 30 to 45 mile per hour threshold is what we're dealing with right now. The reason they extend this warning out, though, is just in case we start to see some resurgence of those winds starting to pick back up. And we want to be here and give you that extra warning just in case we start to see those signs. Good news is, when it comes to the hail threat, still not seeing any signs. Even at the smallest hail, if we had any, would populate as some of those green or those gray returns for us, but not seeing that case right now. something that we did mention earlier, which is worth noting, is that we did get an update about 30 minutes or so, or now adding a few more of those counties to the severe thunderstorm watch. So we're at least going to hang on to that watch until 8 a.m. this morning. That's going to go out for Logan and Johnson counties as well. I think that's given enough time by now to show that on our map. So everything shaded there in pink is that severe thunderstorm watch. So Logan and Scott counties, that's going to go out until 8 a.m. this morning. Now we're definitely going to be, you see how much was added to that watch. I could foresee, after what we're done with right now, maybe a few additional thunderstorms further off behind. I could foresee that those counties be dropped off a little bit sooner than that 8 a.m. hour, but we'll, of course, see what happens and wait to see what eventually is down the line for us. But they did add a few more additional counties out to that watch just a little bit ago. Still just one severe thunderstorm warning for us that reaches into Scott County over the next, let's say about 30 minutes or so, 35 minutes. Rest of northwest Arkansas, rest of the river valley as well, just dealing with those moderate to heavy rainfall across parts of Logan and into Franklin County right now. That's what earlier was our special weather statement, which just means that it's a good thunderstorm. It's a healthy thunderstorm, but not crossing over the severe limits. We're keeping our eye on it here just to see if we see any signs of that starting to come back up, and maybe potentially seeing another warning, just not seeing that as the case right now. You work further up north of I-40 into Crawford County, into Washington and Benton County. If anything, we're just waking up this morning to a few of those light to moderate showers right now. And again, you see those color differences. We started off with some very light greens, which would just relate to us that it's some really light rainfall out there. In some areas, starting to see some of that heavier rainfall crossing over parts of I-49 out there right now. If you're an early traveler, you could be running into just a few of those scattered showers out there this morning. They're trimming down that warning just a bit. What they're doing with that is eliminating some of those communities, saying, hey, you don't have to worry about the warning anymore. The concern where the strongest winds are have now moved past you. Still, I see that line drawn basically just right down the center of Waldron. So splitting the city in two. West side is now outside of the warning. East side is included and still into the warning. But I tell you what, with the leading edge of where you would find those strongest winds, even though they didn't trim all of Waldron out, is well past Waldron. Usually when we have a bowing segment like this and those thunderstorms produce those strong winds out ahead of it, you can see those winds moving further east away from Waldron. We just got a little bit left of the county to go before that completely clears our viewing area. But until then, still some very strong winds that you can find in there, anywhere between what we're sampling here of probably closer towards 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts is what I'd imagine is what you find consistently.
Sure seems low. I really am surprised they continue with this warning. I'll be quite honest. I'm not second guessing them. I love them, but when you kind of look at the radar data there, what is interesting, Stephen, is I'm gonna put it over on rain mode. I see the bowing segment, and I think the visual representation of that is more alarming. It almost looks like it's all bark and no bite.
Yeah.
It looks a little bit more alarming than I think it actually might be.
Sure.
That's just kind of my thoughts here. The good news is it's moving so quickly that it's not going to be in Scott County for much longer.
Yeah, I think you can kind of see that what we're sampling right now is that we're getting only around 20, maybe we can find a 25 mile per hour wind gust, at least what on our side of things what we're sampling of what those winds could look like. So it's definitely on the lower end of things when it comes, but definitely the shape is giving us that's almost more concerning than the winds associated right now, is just saying usually when we would have a bowing segment like this, it would say, hey, that's where the strongest winds are. And that's definitely where we are finding the strongest winds right now, but they may not be that strong when it comes to severe damage expected further ahead of that line of thunderstorms. I think right now you could find anywhere between 20 up to 30 mile per hour winds at best, if anything, a little bit lower than that as well. And sure, you work further north up this line of thunderstorms, you could find some of those stronger winds there in Boonville, soon to be here in Paris as well, along ahead of that thunderstorm. You could find some of those stronger winds still producing some of that lightning out there as well. We're looking at some of our cameras off offhand here. We saw some lightning earlier, not seeing anything out there right now. I think the best one for us would probably be that Ozark camera looking off towards the southeast. But for right now, not seeing any of those lightning strikes being produced right now. Early in the morning, like we are right now, it's hard for, especially after a day like today, these thunderstorms to feed off of anything. It's just been a worked over environment. And that's some really good news for us, just explaining the details for you early this morning that we have some time with you. After a day like we had, well, yesterday at this point where we had a whole bunch of storm fuel built up and these thunderstorms came through, obviously they did what they did. There's not much left for these thunderstorms to tap into. There's still a little bit left in Scott County this morning, a little bit left of that storm fuel for these thunderstorms to feed off of, produce some of those stronger lightning strikes. And speaking of which, I just took a look off camera here, and we were just talking about that Ozark camera, and it's quite the lightning show out there at the right now. But that's what you could expect out there this morning. So a few lightning strikes elsewhere, some heavy rainfall as well. And you take a look there in Ozark. Of course, this is the moment now that Scott has put me on the show, is now that we have to wait to see if these lightning strikes actually populate. We're watching
it's
this
like
one.
they get camera shot. I mean, you get like the most beautiful, most gorgeous anvil crawlers out there, and then you put the camera on live television, and it just goes silent.
What are you talking about, Stephen? There's no lightning out there.
There's no lightning at all in the Ozark camera.
It's a beautiful camera. It's a beautiful shot there. 99% of the time, even with the lightning that we have there. So waking up there in Ozark this morning, more than likely you're gonna hear that thunder outside. You're gonna hear the heavy rainfall maybe pinging up against the glass. At least moderate rainfall, the windows outside your home. But when it comes to severe weather, not having that out there this morning, really that one severe thunderstorm warning that we're hanging on here for is just for Scott County. But it's also, again, that threshold that we typically talk about. Hey, severe thunderstorm warning, that's going to be up for 60 miles per hour. Just not getting those readings out there right now. Doesn't mean that we can't see some resurgence maybe as this thunderstorm pushes further out towards the east into parts of central Arkansas. Sure, we could see definitely some healthy thunderstorms further out towards the east that they're eventually going to catch up to. But even those aren't severe at the moment right now. So we're almost outside of Scott County, and then once those winds clear the county line, we'll be able to start to wrap things up here and give you all clear and let you go back to bed. But as for right now, just a little bit left to go when it comes to this severe thunderstorm warning. At least the time on it goes out until 3 a.m. I tell you what, at least looking about how much left we have left inside the county lines, more than likely this is not going to be a headache for you all the way out until 3 a.m. And even you look at those winds out there right now, and usually you would need to see in a very defined line between those reds and greens. And again, you wouldn't need much to tell where the strongest winds are, but it's messy right now. It doesn't look all too impressive when it comes to seeing a leading edge of those winds or seeing something that's concerning to us. Obviously still hanging on to that severe thunderstorm warning, but those winds, when we take a look at the storm winds here, not all too impressive. 20, 35 mile per hour winds will be possible at most, but when it comes to anything above that, I think for the most part, we're going to be good. I'm going to go ahead and reset things here, and we'll change back over to that rain mode. You can see just a little bit left to go in parts of Scott County. More than likely, which we'll see here in the next coming minutes, is going to be additional trimming of that warning as we continue to follow that leading edge of, hey, where's the next warning going to be, or how much do we have left to cut out? That's what I'm expecting next to happen. Take a look there in northwest Arkansas. Some light rainfall there between Bentonville and Rogers, Springfield, Fayetteville, waking up this morning to some light to moderate rainfall. Eventually down the line, Eureka Springs, Huntsville, Hinesville, Clifty as well. We'll probably see some of these scattered showers. Very light out there this morning. You work further south towards the tunnel, Winslow, West Fork area. That's where you could find some of that heavier rainfall out there this morning. Really, the only concern for that for you would be is if you're one of those early risers, or if anybody traveling out there this morning, you could run into some wet roads. Obviously, the terrain there can be a bit tricky even when it's dry outside. So dealing with some rainfall out there this morning, well below the severe limits, and that rainfall should be clearing up by the time we get at least through that morning commute hour. By the morning commute hour, still could be dealing with some wet roads out there that we may need to use some caution with. Obviously, it gets busy towards that 6-7 a.m. hour, but for the most part, I think we will be dry across the area, hopefully as these showers continue to clear our viewing area. Mountainburg, the Cedarville, Alma, you're still dealing with some of that moderate rainfall out there this morning. Definitely not great driving conditions out there right now, but not severe either. Just some good moderate rainfall. Good news is Fort Smith, well, we had a lot of flooding where we typically do within the Fort Smith city limits. It's just one of those areas that typically has some flooding issues when we get storms like this. Good news is most of that rainfall has been starting to clear off towards the east. And I think we're going to have a little bit of time here where it's going to be dry. If not, most of the rest of the day should be on the drier side of things. That's some good news for us. We work for Ozark, Charleston, Paris. That's where you could find some heavier rainfall between the county lines that they share there with Logan County. Some lightning strikes in there as well. I think we're still well below the severe limits there south of Ozark, but overall, that's that lightning that we were probably seeing a little bit earlier. There's a few lightning strikes here and there, some of that heavier rainfall, and that's really where you could find where you go from moderate to heavy rainfall is from Paris to Boonville and to Ratcliffe and Charleston, south to Tate as well. There with the county line in Scott County. So look at Scott County where our severe thunderstorm warning continues until 3 a.m. Good morning to you there this morning. I know it's not been the morning you probably wanted to wake up to. You wanted those thunderstorms to end yesterday and then we'd be done with it. Unfortunately, we've just been dealing with one last surge of some thunderstorms that have been able to tap into whatever energy is left out there. It's not much. But it is enough to produce an additional severe thunderstorm warning out there this morning. I'm here to tell you that when it comes to those winds, though, not all too much left to go in Scott County at least, but you can find some of those winds. There's some stronger winds there, 45 miles per hour on the southeast side of the county. And I'm going to go ahead and since that's maybe the best return that we've seen there so far. Let's go ahead and, while we got time here, just zoom in very closely here and see if we can pop up anything. I know we're in some rural areas here, but still some folks in these communities. That would be County Road 25, and I think I just saw something behind the screen there, and that would be the cancellation of that warning, something we've been hoping for to give you that all clear. So we'll reset things here. Still some strong winds, parts of Scott County, but most of that thunderstorm has been able to clear the county lines. And when it comes to crossing over the severe limits, now across northwest Arkansas and the River Valley, we have dropped below those limits. Now, throughout the rest of this morning, even though we don't have much left to go, we're going to stay here and keep monitoring it just in case we don't see any other areas start to tap in some of that last energy that we have left over. Does it look like there's going to be much? But if we do get another severe thunderstorm warning, obviously that's why we have these platforms such as 5+, obviously, is where you can reach us all the time with that extra content and severe weather when it comes to the severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings. We would drop on Channel 5 as well. But you can find our extra content there, but also on YouTube, Facebook, whatever it may be. If we do get an additional severe thunderstorm warning out there this morning, we'll be happy to hop on here and give you that latest information. But as of right now, some moderate rainfall out there across parts of northwest Arkansas, some heavier rainfall you could find between Johnson, Logan, and Scott counties. That watch does continue, severe thunderstorm watch continue for the next several hours as well. Again, I don't think we'll have severe weather in those counties for that long when it comes to the 8 a.m. hour, but we'll definitely be here to monitor it just in case. I think for the most part, this is kind of the last crescendo of what we have.
Thank God.
Of those thunderstorms after a long day today. So we're going to go ahead and end our coverage here. Again, if we do get an additional severe